Hello, I'm Amy Zawi with the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report. What have you done for me lately? Some of you may remember back in the late 80s, Janet Jackson had a popular, catchy tune of that title. Sometimes I feel like that's the relationship that Israel has with the world. Israel gives and gives and gives, and the world just produces either a double standard by which to judge it and condemn it, or they just make stuff up to judge it and condemn it, and in most cases having no facts or history behind it. For example, Malaysia forbade Israeli competitors from coming to their country for the Paralympic swimming competition. They didn't want Israeli athletes who are Paralympic participants in their nation. And they were dumbfounded by the backlash that they received, literally not understanding what the problem was. As a result, Karma Swift, the International Paralympic Committee did withdraw Malaysia's right to host the Paralympic swimming event due to the ban on Israeli athletes. As well, former Olympic swimmer, Poland's champions Bart Kierazanski, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, has turned down Malaysia's offer to coach their national swimming team, also following the decision to ban Israeli athletes from participating in the 2019 World Para Swimming Championships. Thank you, Bart, and thank you, IPC, the Olympic Committee, for not cooperating with this blind hatred. Kuwaiti Jiu-Jitsu champion Abdullah Al-Anjari has been very public on social media about his decision last week to drop out of a tournament in Los Angeles because he didn't want to compete against an Israeli athlete. Now he's being hailed as a hero by the Kuwaiti press and the BDS Arab account. Meanwhile, Israel went ahead and cleaned up at the last meet, taking home many medals, at least 4, I think. As many of you may have heard, January 25th, there was a dam that broke in Brazil near a mining facility. This caused widespread devastation. I heard this news reported the 26th, 27th, and 28th on many media sites, including television news programs. What I seem to have missed is that on that same evening, an IDF delegation arrived overnight and immediately headed to the location to help assist with the collapse and the recovery and rescue. Oh, and then there's Amnesty International. For decades, supposedly this organization that is the champion of the underdog, the downtrodden, the ill-served by justice, those who are oppressed and denied things like truth and justice. They too have evolved into an ignorant team of career activists who choose a cause based on what's being popular or hip, rather than actually vetting a situation to find an actual problem to solve. Amnesty International began an anti-Semitic campaign against Israel's tourist industry, including places like the Dead Sea, calling it an illegal settlement. One problem, they chose many places to put on the list, including parts of Jerusalem, En-Gedi, Masada, etc., that were all part of the pre-1967 Israeli borders. So Amnesty's decision to boycott Israel's tourism and specific locations reflects their tremendous ignorance and lack of understanding of the region and the history. So clearly it was just mined out of pure hatred to punish Israel. As you read about boycott, divest, and sanction, that is BDS efforts designed to destroy the Jewish people and their livelihood and the Jewish Israeli economy, it is really just an extended, repackaged set of sentiments that the Nazis passed into law in the years in the 1930s, preceding the roundup and murder of the Jews. Start with their livelihoods, their pride, their contributions to the community. Start with how they take care of their families and their extended organizations, and then round them up and destroy them. This is the same stance that BDS and its backers have, whether or not the masses know it. They are tightly tied to Hamas and other terrorist organizations, often receiving funding and certainly receiving core values. Destroy Israel, destroy Jews. Delegitimize, demonize, and double standard. Dehumanize is my 4th D in the measurement of what is anti-Semitism. One of the most evident is the dehumanizing. It is alongside the double standard, as groups within the BDS movement claim to stand for women, for the LGBTQ community, for African Americans, or other oppressed peoples in the Middle East and other regions. These organizations then turn a blind eye to demonstrable demonstrable perpetrators of such oppressions against minorities and various groups, but manufactures ills that Israel or Jews have supposedly inflicted on Arabs in the Middle East. Did you know that Abbas, the PA president, whose master's thesis was about annihilating Israel, he had pneumonia recently, and his Arab doctors were getting very nervous that it was life-threatening. They actually called in an Israeli doctor who indeed prescribed a course of treatment that saved his life. Did you know that under Israeli employment law, employment conditions are far more worker-oriented and enforced, providing for better working conditions, wages, job security, and prosperity for Arabs working in Israeli companies. These same laws are not applied to Palestinian-owned companies or within the PA Authority. Did you know that Israel is on the precipice of finding a cure for cancer, which no doubt it will share with the world, regardless of one, or individuals, regardless of their national or religious origin? Winston Churchill once said, quote, "A lie gets around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on." And this was uttered in an era of a pre-internet, pre-smartphone world where newspapers, radios, and the infancy of TV news was how people got their information. This was uttered before Israel was even a nation on the map, and yet his words here are prophetic. Meanwhile, a selection of the most famous chefs in the United States have begun to arrive into Israel for a week of adventures and experiencing a very unifying factor. That is food. Celebrity Chef, the television show, sent 4 famous chefs to Israel last week, and they will be providing an episode focusing on Israeli cuisine. As well, Eurovision's top singing competition was won last year by an Israeli. Per the rules of the competition, the finale will be hosted by the winner's nation. Hence, it will be in Tel Aviv. BDS supporters such as Roger Waters, Peter Gabriel, and others from the entertainment and film industry have signed a petition requesting Eurovision to move the venue out of Israel, actually asking them to make a anti-Israel statement by doing so to boycott the so-called malevolence of Israel. Eurovision thankfully stood up to these requesters with a resounding no, stating that they will follow their fair and established rules of the competition and allow the winners' nations to host that show, and they will not be getting involved in making political statements of any kind. Again, music and arts are unifiers. Incidentally, when the Olympics were held in China, I didn't see any letters via The Guardian signed by all these famous actors and entertainment industry and musicians folks asking for that venue to be moved, since China has, all these documented human rights violations, various territorial disputes, the list goes on. But anyway, only Israel has these targets that they can't have any international events on their soil. So what are these great unifiers again? Food, music, art, philanthropy, such as disaster relief, medical innovations, technological innovations, industrial innovations, such as water conservation. Oh wait, Israel is on the forefront of all these things. Great cuisine, Eurovision champions, IDF and other NGOs being first responders to earthquakes in Haiti, trapped miners in Chile, broken dams in Brazil, perhaps a cure for cancer, irrigating the deserts, just about everything your smartphone does, and a statistically impossible number of Nobel Prize winners, all Jewish. This is what Israel produces, or Jewish people produce Israel, however you look at it. Israel is the single candle to a light that shines for 1,000 men. This is sort of a paraphrase of an old Jewish proverb. I didn't make it up. Remember, the things that I am telling you, the next time an activist is holding a banner to support Israel Apartheid Week, or calls Israel an occupier or oppressor, the next time you hear a politician demonizing and delegitimizing the Jewish people or Israel, remember, what have you done for me lately? In Israel's case, quite a lot. And I thank them and I support them. Shavua Tov. Have a great week.